One of the things that I rest on as it relates to leadership is emotional intelligence, is how one relates to someone else and understands where that other person is coming from. Really tries to understand what's important. I would need to understand what's important to you in order for me to be a good leader. And hopefully you have something in you that understands what's in me, what I'm looking for, and that you can take a leadership position. So if you know, for example, that I am a stickler on a clean floor because we're running a food operation, then your emotional intelligence would say, I want to do a good job and keep the floor clean. It sounds trite, but it's really true. So emotional intelligence is probably one of the key indicators to whether or not someone is going to be a leader. And the better the leader, the more emotional intelligence that person has. There's one other interesting leadership trait that seems to be forgotten sometimes. The difference between the highest level person in an organization and the lowest level in terms of compensation and responsibility is not how hard the person works. It may have nothing to do with IQ or just general knowledge about whatever. What seems to be one of the characteristics that correlates with higher levels of leadership is how far ahead a person can think comfortably. So you take someone in a high level position in an organization. That person might need to feel comfortable thinking out 5 to 10 years. Really feeling comfortable, understanding, not saying, let's see, what am I going to do in 10 years and come up with some fabrication. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about really thinking, vision, having a vision about what the next 10 years is going to bring. Because that will distinguish that person from somebody at the low level who might not even know what he or she is going to do that evening. Not because of intelligence, but just because that person hasn't been trained or hasn't thought it was important to think ahead and just has not gotten accustomed to thinking ahead. Now, are we all born with thinking ahead? I don't think so. I think we're encouraged. When I started, I can't say I thought ahead 10 years. I was trying to think ahead maybe a year or two, and I think that got us going. But it took time. You have to train yourself, and you have to feel motivated to be comfortable to think ahead. So I think those are two distinguishing characteristics for leadership: emotional intelligence and how far ahead can one think. I have a terrific partner. I think having getting the right kind of feedback, and that's a partner in the business. Just like I have a terrific partner in my wife. So I could be an effective leader in my home. I'm not the leader. She's a leader, and I'm a leader. I think we can do this. The leadership is at all levels and for all reasons. So people can be leaders. I think having people giving you honest feedback, making sure that you're willing to accept the feedback. If you want to take a leadership position with your own body, you've heard of biofeedback? Well, if you get the feedback, then you can do something about it. Otherwise, if you ignore the feedback, you do nothing. You ignore the feedback when the scale starts tipping at a high level, and you ignore it, you're not taking a leadership role in your weight or your health. So when you think about leadership, you can think about it at the very base level. It doesn't have to be, in the CEO office. It's leadership in your own daily living, and everyone can take that position. And the people that don't, you can tell they're not taking the leadership role.